Hello, Ian here, back with an update on the Dark Elves project. In this one we're talking about the Dark Elf Spearmen, and I've forgotten the shield, so let's pop that back on there. There we go. So yeah, we're going to have a quick chat about the Spearmen, then we'll do a bit of painting. Right, let's get on with it. So the Spearmen were released back in June 1995 with White Dwarf 186, and I remember looking at it and thinking these are much more cohesive and a lot darker than previous editions. Yeah, it really appealed to me. And then later on, I think it was a month later, we got the Army book where they showed another painted version in red of the City Guard. Didn't really appeal to me. I knew that I wanted a dark colour scheme, and then when I saw there was 8 variations on a pose, I thought, yeah, that'll look great in a unit. And then bang, they hit me with a picture of a big unit, so that was me sold. The plan for this video then is to paint another 10 spearmen for this unit to bulk it up, and then of course that'll complete one of the targets for the project. So we'll go through the painting process now, and hopefully I'll see you at the end of the video where we show off the finished result. Here we go. I always like to begin with getting my metallics down first, because sometimes I like to do dry brushed highlights, and when I do, I don't want any flakes of metal getting anywhere that are not wanted. And then this video will be using Vallejo metal colour range, and this one's gunmetal grey. Now they're thin for airbrush use, but even when you use a regular brush, they're so easy to use because they flow off the brush so easily onto the model. Now even though they're thinned, the coverage and finish are lovely, and you get the job done in just one coat. So we'll be covering the spear tip, the chainmail, shoulder pauldrons and the breastplate. And then we'll move on to AK's bronze for the gold. It's a slightly duller colour as we're going for a muted colour scheme. I made the mistake of doing the skulls here, but I'll rectify that later on. There's not that much gold to do on these, mostly small areas just to cover off. And this one's got a decorative edge to his right pauldron, so I've done that as well. Onto the skin, where I'm using Rakarth Flesh by Citadel. Well, it's now Warhammer paint. I did 2 thin coats just to get a nice even coverage on the face and hands. And this brush that I'm using here, it's from Element Games. It's their own brand, and it started off a really nice brush, but it seems to be losing its springiness now, and yeah, I think it's time to change. So I've mixed in some chrome to the gunmetal grey. Sorry, it's Vallejo metal colour again. And we're going to do a dry brush of the chainmail, and using a small dry brush, but I'll focus particularly on the spear tip, the outside of the thighs, across the pauldron and the back of the helmet up the top there. And then we're going to apply the magic sauce, which is a black enamel wash by Ammo Mig. Lovely stuff, highly recommended. We're gonna apply that quite liberally, straight out of the pot to all the metallic areas that we've done previously. And when it's done, I'll give it a quick blast with the hair dryer just to help the drying process, and I'll leave it for about half an hour. I'm gonna have a cup of tea, and then I'll come back to it with a soft brush. There's no thinners on it or anything. I'm just giving it a buff, and it leaves the recesses nice and dark. Okay, so we're doing a dry brush now with a bit of chrome mixed in with the gunmetal grey, a bit more chrome than we did with the first time, and just working on the areas that we did before the wash, just to bring back some definition there and re-establish the raised areas. And we're doing the same with Rakarth Flesh for the face and the hands, leaving the recesses dark where the wash is sitting in there. And I'll do a second layer then just to highlight the bridge of the nose, the edge of the cheeks, and then the bottom of the chin. And then I've added in some pallid witch flesh to the Rakarth flesh, and I'm doing the same highlight but in a smaller area, you know the deal. The cloth and whatever that thing is called that's hanging from his belt, I have no idea what they call that bit, but we're doing that with demonette hide. Lovely colour, nice desaturated purple, which obviously ties the army in together, gives it a more cohesive look, being all the same colour. And then finally the hair. The hair I'm doing with a pale grey, and just picking out the strands at the front that you can see. On the back I'm not that concerned about, you know, individual strands, but I'll do the more prominent ones. Anything else I'll just use the side of the brush to run down the hair, and that'll pick out all the raised details, and we're good to go. The boots and the spear shaft were done with Vallejo's dark grey. In hindsight I should have done this before the wash, but I'm an idiot. And here I'm doing the skulls. We've got 2 to do there. Remember I did them in gold to start with. Huge mistake, didn't like it. So I'm just using Screaming Skull here by Citadel. Gave it a couple of coats just to get some a nice even layer. Sorry, I had a senior moment then. And then I applied a wash then with Vallejo Express Colour Bag of Bones. I think the alternative one for Citadel is Skeleton Horde. Onto the purple I added in some black and a lot of water to make a wash, and just applying that then to the bottom half of the purple areas. But on the skirt I pulled it up towards where the chainmail meets the cloth, just to get some shadow in that area. Okay, so highlighting the purple I used Demonette Hide again, but then to add in the highlights I started adding Screaming Skull, and I'll do a glaze and I'll pull the pigment up towards the top, and then I'll do successive glazes, then adding in more Screaming Skull until I'm happy, and then I'll finish it off with an edge highlight with off-white in it. And then onto the gold trim. Finish this off with Game Colours Polished Gold. I'm not entirely sure you can still get that or not, but that's what I used. And then other bits that I'm not going to show because it's boring. There's the boots and the spear shaft, adding in off-white to the dark grey to get a highlight on there. The skulls, I put a layer on of Screaming Skull and then added in a bit of off-white to that as well. So finally moved on to the hair, and you'll probably guess now that it's off-white. So I'll pick out individual strands on the front again, and then I'm not too bothered about how it looks at the back, but we highlighted it just in case. And I think we're done. So I'm really happy with how he turned out, especially when filming it, because I still find it a bit awkward. So that's the first 10 spears done to complete the first objective. So that now gives me 3 units of 30 each. I've already started on the next one, which is going to be the Blackguard. So hopefully that video will be up in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks very much to everybody that watched the last one and took time to leave such lovely comments and encouragement. It's much appreciated. Just goes to prove that you can't beat the old stuff. So if you're still here watching this, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another video, and I'll see you there. Cheers.